taken one of the spare motors out of the garden shed and taken a few photos, because what I want to do is figure out how the crankcase lines line up with that, and then how far away that foot peg is from the crankcase, so I can sort of work that distance out to make it the same on the other motor on this side, you know, from that hole out to that edge or to that edge, and the angle of it all. I've got to work it all out, because I don't want like one leg out sideways too far and the other one close in. I've got to figure out what's going on. You can see by the shape of the foot peg mount and the way it melds into the crankcase, there was room made there for an exhaust to run through, which is why I decided to get a bottom mounted exhaust for it. I'm at one of those difficult stages again where nothing really wants to line up, so I'll just give you an idea of what I'm dealing with. I'll just put this up. The exhaust for these normally comes out here and runs up here, but because I've had to look for an exhaust, a bigger one, I decided to go one that I've seen one at a good price and it looks nice. It comes down, runs along here, like this one to some degree, like that one runs down along there like that. See how the brake is on the outside, the foot peg is on the inside, brake's on the outside, and it runs along there. Well, the one I've got coming is it runs along, supposedly along there, and then up a bit, and then I put a muffler on it. What I liked about it was that it expands in size as it goes out, and the exhaust is an expanding gas, so that kind of, I like it, appeals to me, and it's got segmented cuts and stainless steel, and it looks all nice and that, so I want to use that exhaust if I can. Right, so I've got to try and come up with something that incorporates that. Instead of, I can always do it, but I'd rather go with what I've got coming. My problem is, by the time I line these up roughly where they should go, in those holes there, look how far away that is. It doesn't come down enough. To do that, it then comes down and it doesn't line up with the bolt holes in any way. So somewhere along the line, this is bent. I've got to re-bend it and make that work. So okay, so that will take a bit of work to make it fit. Can be done, but take a little bit of work to make it fit. Next thing is my brake lever. That's really close, right? But it's not touching, not quite, just about touching, but sits on the stop up there. So it's really close, not so bad. But then, my foot peg, which is supposed to be on the inside of it, remember this doesn't fit at all. That's too far out going by my measurements. This here should be just about there, which is, if I was to line it up, that's where it should sit. So this is going to have to get bent, going to have to get cut there, bent, so it sort of follows that and goes something like that. Then I have my foot brake, and all of a sudden now it hits. It doesn't fit anymore. It won't go down to here where it was supposed to go down to. Nothing I can do about that. I think I'll just have to try and set up for now to work like that. It's already scratched all the way along the bottom here, so I guess when it's even in its natural spot, it drags on the ground. So I don't know. I think I'm going to have to tackle this one thing at a time and get this set up as close as I can. And I think the way I'm going to do that is by bending it up here, which is going to be difficult because it's welded there. Maybe unpick that, bend this up here, then just recut that and weld it to the up, a little bit like that one is. See, that's just goes straight up and it's welded to it. So I think I'll bend this up and then cut it and weld it to reflect that. This one, on the other hand, is touching the cases by about this much, so I need to bend this one out, probably cut that off, readjust it and re-weld it for when I bent it out. Then make up some sort of a plate here, so when this is cut I can reposition it so it sits on the bottom. So I've got a bit of work to do, and then somewhere in between all that I've got to then thread an exhaust through here. I've got this cut in half, I can see that I have laid that flat to match the other side, and see that's out a little bit there. I think I can afford to bend that in just a little bit, just so it follows. If I have a centimetre gap there, I'd like a centimetre gap there, so I think I'll just bend that in a little bit. A bit of a tube on there to get it lined up better. Here we go. When I check how the gear lever fits, it normally just sort of runs flat along there. Now with my new, I've bent it out, which is good, but it's not bent enough. It's touching. So if I look at this, see it's got a bit of a twist in it there like that. I reckon if I just sort of smack it down straight, I could bend it out later if I need to. But I'll twist that and bend it down straight so it goes in behind there. So I think I'll largely have the left hand side fixed. I cut up a 15mm bolt to use as a new spacer, V'd it out so I get good penetration of welds and welded it up. And I went to Bunnings and I got this, and this is feels tight, the grain feels tight, so I'm going to cut that bit out there, which theoretically will go in there, and it has to be flat because the belly pan, or the bottom brackets, or the belly pan goes across there, so I can't have anything ridges. But on the other side, see, I'll have the up and oops, it'll be long that way and up that way. So the theory is it'll still cut in like that, but it'll have a high ridge along here. And the idea of that is because this is a lot further out, and it's not supported in there anymore. So I could want to bend, you know, if I'm standing on the foot pegs going over jumps, I don't want to be wheel standing, and when the front wheel comes down to bend the frame some more, I don't want to be, you know, bending this up. So a little bit of a right angle there should help that. So I've just about got the foot pegs ready for welding. The with that steel I have, 3mm thick, which is the same thickness as that. Bit of angle on there. That'll give it sort of strength from bending this way. That sort of went along there, and I cut it and bent it up like this. And I plan to put a bit of weld in the corner there, weld along here, weld along there, flip it over, do the same again. So that'll give it some anti-flexing. Angle iron's always good for that. And same with this piece here, weld along there, flip it over, do the same thing. I weld it in place, bolt it down so that everything stays nice and hopefully it doesn't flex or bend when I heat it up, but it should be good. And then once I've done that, I will then have to get these in the right place. But apart from that, I'm pretty happy with how it's going. It's looking pretty good at this stage. If I line the foot pegs up, the bottoms here, so it's nice and tight on there, I'll just get the focus right, nice and tight on there, it makes them hang down. See that hanging down angle? And there's one thing I dislike is foot pegs that hang down. So I took a picture of these when I first got them, and they were a little bit up, which is much nicer riding position. See, that's a little bit up there like that. So I'll grind this down, just the tops off that, and then weld them on, and and that should have more of a slightly up or at least level look to it. This is the second time I have to weld this. I completely missed it the first time. Now I've ground it back out again with an angle grinder, and now I'm going to have a second crack at it with my expertise at welding here. Now that looked good to me, but then I don't know what I'm looking at, so let's have a look. Look at that, I missed again. How the hell did I do that? Look at that. I've got a lot to learn. You can see that line through there? It's just all slag. I've got to dig that out again, grind it, all these hot spots, lumps down, and grind that back out again. Jesus. Alright, let's have a go. Now I have another crack at it. I'll go slower this time. See if that makes it any better. Okay. Well, see that red glow line? That means something. And I think that means there's just slag in there and there's no weld. I don't know. Let's have a look, see if this is any better. Yep, that's what it was. It's better through here. Nice. But there's that hole right there. I'll just grind that little bit out and fill that bit. But I'm getting there. It's slowly, but I'm getting there. Well, it's done, but it's not something I'm proud of. Look, I'm happy enough. It's ugly, but strong enough. It'll do the job, you know. Ugly, cleaned up. Oops, here. Same thing. It's just not pretty to look at. But I've looked at it thoroughly. It's strong enough. It'll do the job. Like, it's not. I know he's banging it against there, but it's not going to break on me. And if it does, it's all part of its character. Anyway, it's good enough. It's done the job, and it is exactly the shape I'm after.